Coming up next on Not the 9 to 5 podcast.
I basically couldn't get a job. The job market was really rough. It reminded me a little bit of how it is right now, actually. To go to Asia for 3 months.
Wow.
I was still working while I was there. I was basically maxed out. I was working like 80-hour weeks at the beginning. And I just recognized that I could not continue doing that, because if you're taking on projects that you don't want to be working on, you will get burned out so fast. Because up until that point, I was still applying to normal jobs because I didn't really see how freelancing could be consistent.
Welcome to Not the 9 to 5,
The podcast for freelancers
by freelancers.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out,
Join us as we share insights, tips and stories
to help you thrive in the world of independent work.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Francesca.
We are two freelancers exploring the highs, lows
And everything in between. So grab your coffee, kick back,
and let's dive into another episode of Not the 9 to 5.
Katheryn Siggers, Francesca Marago.
We're back again.
We are back again.
Another episode.
Another day, another episode. Who have we got?
We have got a really special guest here with us today, all the way from the United States of America.
My goodness, we're global.
I know, we're global. So we've got Suzanne Ctvrtlik with us today. She is founder and CEO of a successful 6-figure remote graphic design agency. She went from college straight to freelancing, and she's never had an office job. For the last 5 years, she's thrived in the world of remote work, building her career on platforms like UpWork and YouTube, steering away from the traditional 9 to 5 path.
Well, there we go. Welcome, Suzanne.
Hi, well, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. It's so exciting to have you on, especially, we'll get into it, but you're a CEO of a successful 6-figure company. Like, that's incredible.
Insane.
We got to talk about that. But let's bring it back to, where did it all start? Where did it kind of all begin for you, Suzanne?
So I always had an interest in graphic design. When I went to school, I didn't really follow that interest. I actually went to school for animation, thinking that I wanted to work for like Pixar or Disney. When I got out of college, I basically couldn't get a job. The job market was really rough. It reminded me a little bit of how it is right now, actually.
Yeah.
And I kind of just fell back onto the graphic design skills that I had. And I thought to myself, well, I need to have a way to make money. So let me just try to freelance, make some money doing what I know how to do. And from there, it kind of just turned into its own little business.
Oh my God, that's incredible. That sounds like a very organic growth for you. You know, it kind of just happened. It was never premeditated.
Right. It was very organic. And probably if you had asked me my first couple of years in university, I would not have ever imagined that I would be in the place that I am now.
No way.
So tell us why graphic design? What drew you to that? Have you always been sort of a creative? Has that always been of interest to you?
It has. So I was always the kid that was like sitting in front of the TV with a drawing pad and crayons or colored pencils. And even when I was little, I was always like, I'm going to be an artist. Of course, back then I didn't think that it was going to be graphic design. I didn't even know what that was. But I think that interest kind of followed me throughout my life. And naturally, as I started learning how to use a computer and I was introduced more into the tech world, those art skills kind of have remained an interest. And that was just the natural progression for those initial art skills, I guess.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it kind of transferred into tech, really.
Right.
Yeah, cool. And then how did you kind of then grow your graphic design agency? How did that come about? So you were freelancing for how many years before you got your agency?
Only about a year. And then I started building out the agency slowly. So I was doing everything myself for the first year, and it got to a point where I was basically maxed out. I was working 80-hour weeks at the beginning, and I just recognized that I could not continue doing that. But I needed the income because that was my entire job. So I started looking into, okay, how can I hire contractors to help me? Like maybe if I get hired for a branding project, I can do the logo, but they can do the rest of the branding or something like that. So it really was almost out of necessity. And as my client base started growing, I was able to expand and hire more contractors to help me out. So that's been a really nice way to like take on more work, honestly.
Yeah. And what was it like kind of finding clients? We always say that can be a really like difficult thing at the start of pitching yourself to people so that they invest in you.
Yeah. So something that I would recommend for other people is, especially when you're first starting out, I actually think that that's the easiest time to approach people. So for me, just to build up my graphic design portfolio, because I didn't have that from university, I went to local businesses. Like I legitimately got in my car, drove to a restaurant, asked if their manager was there, and I was like, hey, I just graduated. I'm just starting my own business. Like, I see that your website is like kind of the basic Squarespace layout. Can I help you with that? And use that work in my portfolio. So I'd highly recommend for people to like go and physically make connections with these businesses and people. I think that makes it a lot easier to start out rather than like sending a cold email or trying to approach clients randomly.
Yeah, having that actual human connection with someone.
Yeah.
Because you stick in their head longer as well, don't you?
Yes. And you can of course expand outside of that. Once you kind of have those initial projects and that initial client base. For me at the beginning, my main focus was building up my portfolio so that I could get other jobs. And from there, I kind of started looking for clients online, whether that was through social media or like through Upwork. And there are a lot of different ways to get clients, but that base of the clients I approached in person are definitely what my business was kind of built on.
Okay.
It's a good way to start, isn't it? It's a good starter, and then people get to know you and your persona, like through a cold email. It's like, how do you make that personalized, without just sending a blanket email to people? You know?
It's really difficult.
You almost want to attach like a little video of yourself going, hi, this is me, this is what I do, like virtually. You can't meet them in person. I suppose you could do that, to be fair. But yeah, maybe
that would be a marketing tool for you, Francesca.
There we go. You never know. And so tell us a little bit about UpWork then. So did you use UpWork, I guess, to then develop yourself further as a freelancer did you get clients from that, or how did that work?
Yeah, so back in, I think it was 2019, I started looking for more clients on Upwork, and that was where I got one of my first longer term clients. So before that, I had been doing one-off projects, so like a website for someone or a logo for someone. And it was on Upwork that I was able to find someone that was consistently like, hey, we need 30 to 40 hours of your time a week. And for me, that was perfect because that was basically, that was basically a job at that point. So that at that point with that first Upwork client, I kind of started thinking to myself, okay, maybe I can actually do this full time. Because up until that point, I was still applying to normal jobs because I didn't really see how freelancing could be consistent. And that really showed me that like people were looking for contractors to work more than on just one project.
And for people who don't know what UpWork is, just for our listeners, what could you just summarize it for us?
Yeah, so Upwork is a freelancing platform where basically people or companies will post jobs and you as a freelancer can apply to those jobs or clients can contact you directly.
Cool. Can anyone be on Upwork? Like, do you have to be a graphic designer to be on it, or can it be, voice artist? You're on it. There you go. Voice artists can be on it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm on it. Voice actor. And I know there's all sorts of different freelancing jobs, kind of like Fiverr, really, in a way, but different to Fiverr in the fact that you like kind of bid on jobs, don't you? Right? You like
yes, and I think another big difference is that there are a lot of clients that are looking for hourly or longer term work, whereas Fiverr is more of that project based
It's like a one and done, isn't it? Yeah.
Right.
See, got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
So it sounds like you've had a lot of success, but have there been any struggles along the way, Suzanne?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So what I always tell people is that really my job now, like number one is customer service. Number two is just project management.
Mhm.
And then it's being a graphic designer, and in that order too. So the biggest learning curve and the biggest struggle I think anyone has in freelancing is the customer service aspect of it, or just like dealing with clients in general. It's learning how to respond to different situations and how to advocate for yourself, because that's huge. And I think that really the only way to be able to make freelancing a long-term career is to consistently advocate for yourself, whether that's like your rates or just like the working environment that you need to keep doing it. Because if you're taking on projects that you don't want to be working on, you will get burned out so fast.
Yeah, definitely.
It's hard. We have this. It's like you have to be selective, I guess, as you grow in the freelancing world, don't you? But at the same time, when you're starting out, you want to take as much as you can because you want that portfolio, you want that experience. But would you suggest when you're starting out, to actually to take on as many things as possible, or would you say be selective from the start?
I would say at the start, take on more, but still be somewhat selective about it. If your goal, I'm just speaking from a graphic design perspective, but if your goal is to work on designing websites, then maybe you don't want to build a portfolio of logos. So I would say try to keep the work relevant, but yeah, at the beginning, take on a lot of projects if you can, just to build up that portfolio and kind of a variety of work that new clients can look at.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's interesting as well that you said that your customer service first, then what was the second thing you said?
Project management,
and then a graphic designer. Now, how do you deal with that? Because I also find this is like, in terms of having a business head when you're creative, how have you kind of dealt with that? How have you kind of transitioned into that role?
It's been a journey. I would say I kind of have to separate the creative and like more of the administrative management parts. So I'll try to block off points of time or blocks of time where I'm like, okay, between this hour and this hour, I'm checking emails, I'm assigning projects, sending stuff to clients. After that time period passes, I'm working on graphic design stuff. I'm in the creative flow and I'm not answering an email. So I think maintaining that separation between the administrative and the actual creative has been helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might copy you actually, because I find it really difficult to kind of separate that. But I think I'm gonna follow in your footsteps, Suzanne, because genuinely, I'm like, oh, but I just want to be creative, and I don't feel, because I'm using my business time and my creative time at the same time, lines get blurred, don't they?
Right. And being in that creative flow is really important. And if that's constantly getting interrupted by client emails or, your to-do list that keeps popping up reminders, it's really hard to actually get anything done during that time.
It sounds like you've had to be quite disciplined.
Yes, that's something that I would definitely say if anyone is considering freelance, you have to be disciplined. So if you are someone that like consistently misses deadlines, that consistently is procrastinating, then freelance probably is not the right path for you. Just like being completely honest, because at the beginning for me, it was working like 80 to 100-hour weeks. I don't have to work that much now, but it's a grind to start and to manage all of those different parts at once, especially when you're doing it by yourself.
And did you put a system in place in terms of working time? Like, do you have a cutoff point? Because I know freelancers freelance till the end of time because, you're working for yourself. So you don't have a boss to tell you, stop work or you can go home now or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have a cutoff point, or do you find it really hard to implement that?
So now I do implement a cutoff point. I work more regular 9 to 5 hours just because at the beginning, when I was working overtime and working those 80 to 100 hour weeks, I was getting so burned out, and all of the client emails, I was dreaming about client emails, and that's not what you want. So now I pretty much have a cutoff point at 5 o'clock. I'm done. On weekends, you can't reach me. And that has been a change over time. But it is something that I've found that I have to do to remain sane enough to continue freelancing.
Yeah.
I suppose my question then is, because obviously as a freelancer, you kind of make your own schedule. Do you ever have flexibility then within that kind of like 9 to 5 that you've now cultivated for yourself? Do you have flexibility of like, well, I'm not going to work on Wednesday, but I'll work on Saturday? Do you still do that, or do you kind of stick to that schedule?
I definitely do. So I kind of have ways to work around that so that clients still expect that 9 to 5 schedule. So if I am working on a weekend or at night, what I'll do is I'll actually schedule my email to go out at like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. the next day.
Right.
That way clients aren't trained to think that I'm available at like 11 p.m. on a Wednesday. So I think having little things like that is super helpful, but I do definitely have some flexibility there. I try to make it as clear as possible to clients to not expect that of me.
Yeah.
I guess that's all about setting those boundaries though with clients, isn't it?
Yes.
Like you don't have 24/7 access to me. It's impossible.
Well, it's also time is money, isn't it?
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's like if you're working out of hours, in the evening, it's like you should really be paid for that time then if it's urgent, or so it's better for you to just sort of cut it off and then just continue with your day the next day rather than constantly being accessible.
That's it. Yeah.
I find that so difficult.
You do.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
I'm terrible.
You're bad.
I'm like, reply straight away.
Bad.
I'm terrible. So I need to implement that. So
you do.
Thanks for sharing.
You do.
That.
You've been so helpful already. So how have you kind of taken your freelance solo business to the 6-figure business it now is?
Yeah, so it has been a progression of different things like rate increases, changing the types of clients or the types of industries that I work for, as well as changing pricing structure a little bit. So one major change within the last couple of years is that now I have a lot of clients on retainer. So at the beginning of the month, they'll pay me a set amount for a set amount of hours, and that will be used throughout the month. And that way I'm not working on an hourly basis. I know that that work is going to be there. And when the client is paying up front, they also are a little bit better about getting the instructions for the work that they need to me faster, because they know that they have to use their hours by the end of the month. Otherwise, they'll expire.
Yeah,
Got you.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
You're kind of creating stability in a very unstable job, in a stable career. That's great. I love that.
Yeah. I think everyone should have something like that, like an upfront fee, I guess, because then at least you know what's coming in every month rather than, like I've got a day here, I've got an hour here, and it's like I don't know when's the next thing.
Yeah, that's it.
So in terms of connection with your community, obviously times have changed, things change all the time. I'm assuming within the graphic design industry, that's always evolving and changing. Have you had to deal with lots of changes? Have you had to adapt yourself in your freelance career for that?
A little bit. I feel like I've always been someone that's experimenting with new software, but in the graphic design industry specifically, if I had gone to school for graphic design, I would have been trained entirely on Adobe products, so like Photoshop, Illustrator. And now, a few years later, everyone is using Figma. That's what clients want. That's what startups want. Pretty much everyone is using Figma for their graphic design projects. So that has been something that I've had to learn over the last few years, and they keep adding new stuff to it. So it's pretty exciting to work with, but it's one of those things where if you were trained in Adobe products and you're only using Adobe, there are a lot of jobs that you can't get right now because they only want people who can work in Figma.
Oh my
And
gosh.
what's the big? Is there a big difference for people who don't know what this application is? Is it quite elevated
Yes.
to Adobe or?
Yes. So Figma is used a lot for things like web design or app design.
Mhm.
So you can make these prototypes where your clients can actually click through a working model of the designs.
Cool.
And there's also a collaboration aspect. So you can have 5 of your team members and they're all working on the same file at once. So that has been a huge development and a big reason why people are switching over to it.
Oh wow!
And you can't do that on Adobe?
No.
Oh wow, I never knew that.
No.
Because I think whenever I think of like graphic design or anything like that, I
Adobe.
always think of Adobe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I always think Adobe's the one, because you would have thought they would have developed it so that you could collaborate on projects and you could do all the things that Figma can do. That's
Right.
I thought they were like the top dogs, but
Yeah.
clearly not.
Well,
clearly
there's a
not.
new guy in town.
There is, and he's called Figma. What would you say is the best part of your job for you, Suzanne?
Definitely the flexibility of it. I know that I kind of said that I try to keep a 9 to 5 schedule, but there are periods of time, like last year, I was able to go to Asia for 3 months.
Wow.
I was still working while I was there, but yeah, it was a really cool experience. And there's definitely no way that I would have been able to take that amount of time to go there if I was working a normal office job.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely.
awesome.
How much equipment did you have to take with you out of interest?
Like for work, just a laptop. Just a laptop.
There you go.
Surely it's like got to be a super duper one though.
No, it's the little MacBook Pro.
No
Like
way.
ours, yeah.
And that software all works on your MacBook Pro?
Yes.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a MacBook Pro, but it's always really slow. Maybe I need a new one.
You just have too much on your desktop. You
No,
need to
I do
organise.
not. I do
File,
not. It's
schedule.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, that's where we divide him, me and Kat. It's like I'm OCD, like
She's
very
like
regimented, scheduled,
ridiculously
everything's in order, and
organised.
she's just like mess.
I'm creative, okay?
Yeah.
My laptop desktop is a piece of art. Thank you.
Yeah. So, what's one piece of advice then that you'd give to freelancers about venturing into graphic design?
Into graphic design, definitely learn Figma. I would say also get an idea of what other people are charging for similar work and for like a similar style and level of work as what you can do. I know that when I first started, I was definitely way undercharging what I should have been. But I had no frame of reference. I had no idea what other people were charging. So I think either reaching out to other people in the industry or even going on something like UpWork and looking through other profiles to see what the going rates are, that's a really big part of starting out with freelancing.
I was going to say, because there are some websites out there for different jobs that tell you like a random, a rate card of what you could go by. I know that you said you could go to UpWork, but is there a specific website for graphic designers that they could go to as well that has like a rate card on it, or a union that has a guideline, or not?
Not that I know of. And I would say that the rates really vary depending on industry. So I know that for me, a lot of startup clients have bigger budgets than like small businesses, for example.
Okay, cool.
Amazing. No, I was going to say, are you ready for a game?
Yeah, that's what I was going
Are
to say.
you ready for a game?
Yes, I am.
We do this with every single guest. It's a game of Would You Rather.
So, would you rather live on a peaceful tropical island or a bustling big city?
Tropical island.
Would you rather have to start a new job every year until you retire, or have only one job for your entire career?
Probably a new job every year.
Mix it up.
Mix it up, exactly.
Yeah.
Would you rather spend your money traveling the world but have few personal possessions, or have a really amazing house but never leave your hometown?
Oh, traveling.
All the way. Would you rather have to wear all black every day for the rest of your life, or have to mix every colour of the rainbow into your outfit every day?
All black. That's my usual wardrobe, but I changed it up today.
Every single interview we've had. is
Right.
always wearing black.
Basically,
Guys, what's
black
going
all
on?
the way. Okay.
I can't deal. We need
You're
a bit of
welcome.
vibrancy.
No, we don't. You're enough vibrancy for us. Thank you.
Thanks. Would you rather be able to talk with animals or speak every language?
Speak every language.
Would you rather always be 1 hour late or 1 hour early to everything?
Probably 1 hour early.
Sensible choice.
Would you rather be covered toe to neck in tattoos or have one big face tattoo?
Probably toe to neck.
Would you rather have to speak in rhyme or riddles for the rest of your life?
Rhyme.
Would you rather have more time or more money?
Ooh, more time.
Would you rather be a freelancer or we call it PAYE, but essentially employed for the rest?
Freelancer.
All the way, all the way.
And for those listening who'd like to follow your onward journey, where can they find you on socials?
Yeah. So I'm Hey Susie Marie on socials, and my graphic design agency is Retrospective Media.
Amazing. Well, we will give you a follow for sure.
Yes, we will.
And I'm sure everyone else will be excited to follow your journey too.
Yeah. Thank you for chatting with us.
Thank you for giving up your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Not the 9 to 5 podcast.
If you like this episode, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel, where we release weekly podcasts every Monday.
Comment below to let us know who you'd like to see next on our podcast.
Give this video a thumbs up and maybe share it with a freelance friend or two.
Until next week, everyone.
Keep freelancing!